Hey there, and welcome to another edition of The Luckiest T-Shirt. I'm Dan. I'm going to be with you for the next little bit. As you can see, the closet in the background is gone. I have moved locations. I'm in my new little studio area recording. It's a little bit plain right now. I'm just up against the good old white wall, but I can make shadow puppets if I feel like. That's always something I could do. I'm also currently now moved into the basement. We've moved all our stuff into the basement, so I have a good chunk of room here. Yeah, I got a good chunk of space that I can move into. Just gonna pick up some more furniture, get some more places to sit so I can bring people in. But for now, it's just me and my white wall. So welcome to the luckiest T-shirt. If this is your first time listening to us, I thank you. If this is your first time viewing us, thank you as well. Today we're going to talk about a couple things. It's probably going to be a bit of a short one today. I'm going to do a deck tech on my new commander deck sometime later this week, so watch out for that one. But for now, let's get started with some tasty treats from the likes of Fate Reforged. All right, so let's get this open. They put a nice little cut in there, make it easier to open. All right. So we talked about this guy last time, Typhoid Rats. He's pretty sweet. This time I want to talk about this card. It's the second one in the pack. It's called Ethereal Ambush. It's 3, a green, and a blue for an instant that says manifest the top 2 cards of your library. And it actually has some flavor text. So it says the energies of the Temur lands are readily unleashed upon intruders. So the idea is come into our woods and we gonna fuck you up, and you not even gonna know what we are. So the art on it's pretty sick. It's this guy wandering through the woods, and he's being chased by 2 manifest creatures, also known as mini blue spaghetti monsters. So there's those guys. Anyway, this is a fun little card. It's really fun in draft. I like it. It's packed full of flavor. Let's go see what our rare is today. Do this on the screen here. So the rare. Ooh, we got a good one. There he is. Tassiger the Golden Fang. So this guy was a little bit controversial when he was first printed because a lot of people were saying he's going to be overpowered. A lot of people were saying that he's going to be garbage. In standard anyway, and in modern, some other formats, he's turned out to be pretty good. He is 5 and a black for a human shaman with the stats of 4/5. Some people call him banana hands because those bananas on the right side of the picture there kind of look like they're his hand, which I get. He's a scrawny little dude who's kind of a wimp. He makes a deal with Salimgar, the black-blue dragon, to hand over to let them know about a summit that happens between the Khans to try and strategize what they're going to do about the dragons of Tarkir. And this guy, this little weaselly bastard, sells them all out. What do? He gets back to his homeland. He gets back to his Sultai castle or cavern or whatever the fuck he lives in, and Salimgar has pretty much torched the place and makes this guy his slave. So we'll see where that goes. Anyway, his abilities are pretty sweet. He's 5 and a black, but he has Delve, so he's really just a black. And he has an ability that says 2 and green blue, also known the hybrid manas, so 4 total. Put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard, then return a non-land card of an opponent's choice from your graveyard to your hand. So you can use Delve to sculpt your graveyard, and then use his ability, and you could put a land and something really shitty with the top 2 that you put from the ability, and your opponent could give you that one. But chances are, if you put it in your deck, hopefully it's good, and you want it in your hand anyway. So that's what he does. He's pretty sweet. I'm pretty happy to pull him, although he is a big giant pussy. All right. So today, played down at the old LGS in my league, and they've done something kind of interesting. So not only do we have the way our league works is you have a sheet, and the sheet is a list of achievements. You play the game. If you hit those achievements, you get points. Points are good. The person with the most points at the end of the night wins the top four each night. They win a certain amount of booster packs based on the number of players playing. So you can lose every single game and still win the evening because in losing you got more points. So what they introduced recently is a little mini draft. So they have the achievement sheet, and then each person gets 5 cards, and on those cards are personal achievements that are hidden from everybody. And what we tried tonight is we did a little draft of those 5 cards before you start the game. So you're 4 players, 5 cards each. You pick one, pass the rest, and then pick one, pass the rest. Do that 5 times. Now you have 5 achievements just for yourself to try and get points, which I think was a pretty cool idea. We had a lot of fun with it. That way, just because achievements that you could get don't show up on the sheet, because we have a whole bunch of them, and then they pick 10 at random, and those go on the sheet. But now you can draft ones that you might know that you're going to get. Like tonight I had one that said, destroy all snakes on board. Minimum 1, right? So you had to kill a snake. Well, I knew that in my deck I had a snake basket, which is a 4-mana artifact that says pay X, sacrifice it, put X 1/1 snake tokens onto the battlefield. So that's what I did. I made a bunch of snakes. Actually, specifically, I made 1 snake, and then I cast Damnation. Got me my achievement, got me some points, felt pretty good. And so what I think is pretty cool about that is now not only do you have what everybody's working towards, but you have something of your own that you're working towards, and that's pretty cool. So my epic play for the day, that's kind of also my combo of the day, is Living Death and Blood Artist and Curse of Echoes. So Living Death is a sorcery that you exile all creature cards in your graveyard, sacrifice all creatures on the battlefield, and then put all cards that you exiled with Living Death onto the battlefield. So that's the technical way they had to do it, so that you could not run into any rules issues. So you basically swap your graveyard and your battlefield. So Blood Artist, my favorite card in Magic, is 1 mana and 1 black. So 1 colorless, 1 black, 2 total. It's a 0/1 vampire. And he has, whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Curse of Echoes is a curse that you enchant a player with, and it's like Hive Mind, except just for that player. So whenever that player casts an instant or sorcery, each other player copies it and then casts that spell. So how did this all end up? I had Blood Artist and a few other creatures on the board. There were a couple other creatures on the board as well. The player who had Curse of Echoes on him, he cast Living Death, making it so that the other 3 of us also cast Living Death. So when my Blood Artist died, everything else dies too. So I get a bunch of Blood Artist triggers. He goes in the graveyard. Everything in my graveyard comes out. In that graveyard happened to be an Ogre Slumlord, which says whenever a non-token creature dies, put a 1/1 rat token into play. So Blood Artist goes away, get a bunch of triggers, drain a guy. Ogre Slumlord comes out. Then the next Living Death goes off. Ogre Slumlord goes away. I get a bunch of rats. Blood Artist comes back out. Then the next person casts Living Death. Blood Artist and all those other creatures, they all die again. So do the rats. I get a bunch of Blood Artist triggers, drain some more, gain some more, and then we do it one last time. Well, the way this one worked out is he was trying to finish the game with a Flare of the Hatebound combo, where every time a creature enters battlefield from your graveyard, you deal damage equal to its power. All technical. I got to kill him before his Flare of the Hatebound killed me, and then I got to kill everybody else. So that was my epic play of the day. That's kind of a combo. Curse of Echoes is sort of in there. It just happened to be who cast it. So yeah, Blood Artist, Living Death, bunch of other creatures, even Ogre Slumlord in there for value. Lots of fun. And especially when you get to copy it over and over again. All right. So my main topic for today is commons. Do commons have a place in EDH? Do commons have a place in Commander? And I think they do, because there's a lot of value you can get on commons. There are a lot of really good commons printed, and you don't necessarily have to go way back to find them. Just look as far back as Theros. There's Grey Merchant of Asphodel. He's a fucking douchebag, but he certainly gets the job done. He is a 2/4 creature that when he enters the battlefield, you drain each opponent for your devotion. And he costs 2 and 2 black. So when he comes in, he's at least draining everybody for 2, and you gain that much life. So if there's 3 players and all you have on board is Grey Merchant, they each take 2, and you gain 6. Seems pretty good. It's a pretty powerful common. It's still legal. I don't see a whole lot of people playing like mono black devotion strategies and other formats, but it's certainly a viable one in Commander where you can abuse it by having him enter the battlefield over and over and over again. Now, when I put this question out, what are the best commons on MTG EDH Commander group on Facebook, shout out to Diego, I got some pretty good responses, and most of them were Ristic Study. They think Ristic Study is the best common in Magic, and it is good, and it is very annoying. If you don't know this card, you probably should by now. I'll give you a quick recap. It's 2 and a blue for an enchantment that says whenever a player casts a spell, they may pay 1, and if they don't, you draw a card. So Ristic Study, also known as you pay in the 1, because you really do want to pay the 1. The guy who plays Ristic Study, he wants those cards, and you do not want him to have them. But there are some other good ones on here. So we got Grey Merchant, we got Ristic Study. There's Counterspell, Spell Pierce, Daze, Brainstorm. This is all from the same guy. Ponder, Preordering. Now, those are good spells, but in EDH, I'm not so sure they're that good. They're just 1-for-1s. The counterspells, anyway. Right? I play something, you counter it. You really need something like even the new card, the Soulfire Grandmaster, where you can give those spells buyback so that you can get them in your hand again, so they're not 1-for-1s every time, right? So now you can start building an advantage because you're countering that spell, then you get it back, and you counter that spell and you get it back, and then your friend punches you in the face because you're being a dickhead because they can't play Magic because you're stuck under their counter thumb, right? But yeah, they're counters. They counter things. But I wouldn't call them the best. They're definitely abusable, but I don't think they're up there. Apparently Command Tower is common. Now, how are you going to get a Command Tower? There's really only one way to get it besides going to your local game store and buying one single. You're never going to pull Command Tower in a booster pack. Did they put it in Conspiracy? I don't think they did. Anyway, you're not gonna pull it, right? So you got to buy a Commander Precon deck, of which now there are 15. So that doesn't really count, right? You're not getting that one. You're not opening a pack and being like, okay, common, Command Tower. Oh, that's cool. Common. You're never picking Command Tower in a draft, all right? So these are commons from normal sets that you can get through normal Kraken packs. Is what I'm talking about. Rootborn Defense. Not a bad card. All your shit becomes indestructible, and you populate. Good in the right deck. Not amazing. Good good in the right deck. Doomblade, again, 1-for-1. Do I think it's super amazing? Probably not. Maybe commons just aren't, maybe that's not their place. Maybe a 1-for-1 common is the bar you should set for EDH. Does this deal with something? Does it answer something? Am I getting card advantage off of it? Probably not. But is this answering the threat that's in front of me right now? Then good. That's all it needs to do. It's a common. What else we got here? Disenchant. Again, 1-for-1. That's got to go. This card does it. It's readily available. It's less than 50 cents. Bang. Gone. We got some other ones. Rancor was originally printed as common, but now it's uncommon, and for good reason. Rancor is a very, very good magic card, and that's why they bumped it up to uncommon. So Rancor is a 1-mana aura, enchantment, 1 green, gives creature +2/+0 and trample. And if it enters the graveyard from the battlefield, return it to your hand. That is, every creature I control is gonna have trample at some point, because you can deal with my big fatty, but there's gonna be another one coming, and I'm just gonna put Rancor on it again. Very good common, but that's why it's not common anymore, right? So then we've got a couple other suggestions. We got Priest of Titania. I think she taps to add green for each. I can't even remember. I'll look it up. You probably know what it is. If not, look it up. It's probably good. Dark Ritual. That's a good one. I cast this one tonight. Dark Ritual is great when you have a 6-mana commander and 4 mana on the board. Spend one of those black to get 3 black. Use the other 3. Cast your commander. It's good. It's mana ramp right now. It's I need this thing before that thing, so I'm going to cast Dark Ritual, and I'm going to get that thing right now. Let's see. Skyshroud Claim. Very good card. It's a 4-mana green spell. Puts 2 lands into play. They don't even come in tapped. That's amazing. Am I getting that card right? Fuck, it's cast against me so often, and I can't even remember exactly what it does. Can't remember if they go to your hand. Maybe I'm bad at this. Should I be doing this? That's all right. All right, so Sakura Tribe Elder. He's 1 and a green. It's a 1/1 creature that you can sack to search for a basic land and put it on the battlefield tapped. Does that sound amazing? It doesn't sound amazing. But think of the things that you do with these kinds of cards. Somebody attacks you. You block. You sack it. Don't take any damage. And you get to ramp a land. Seems pretty good. Right? I've run that. I do run that. It's a great card. That's not so much on the removal end of things, but man, it does a lot. For just 2 mana, you get to go get a land and prevent some damage. Or you have an attacker to suit things up on. Maybe you put a Rancor on your Sakura Tribe Elder, get in for 3, then sack it, get your Rancor back, get your land, use the land to play the next biggest thing, put your Rancor on it. Seems pretty fucking good. I like it. What else did we have here? I'm looking at my phone here. That's why I keep looking down. So, more Counterspell, more Ristic Study, Muldrifter. Apparently Muldrifter's common. Muldrifter is it's an evoke creature. I think it costs 5 to play normally, or you can evoke it for 3 and draws 2 cards. 2 cards doesn't always sound like a lot, but man, is 2 cards good when you have no cards in your hand. And if you evoke it, you have to sack it at end of turn. Well, there are all kinds of shenanigans you can use to make sure that the evoke trigger doesn't even fucking matter. Like, blink him, cast Muldrifter, evoke Muldrifter, cloud shift it, that exiles it, comes back. You got 4 cards, and you keep them. And then there's a bunch of people on here who say the best common ever printed is Island. And I'm sorry, doesn't count. Basic lands don't fucking count. Because what are you going to do? I've seen people rank the basic lands, island, swamp, plains, forest, mountain. You can put them in any order. They're all good, right? You don't get to play the game without lands. And yes, you can build decks without basic lands. Those decks are called colorless decks for the most part. But you need, in any colored deck, you're going to need a couple basics. And maybe you don't. But when that guy plays, what's the new one? If you tap a non-basic, Burning Earth, deals 1 damage every time you tap a non-basic. It's nice to have some of them basics out there. Or, I don't know, Blood Moon. Blood Moon says all non-basics are mountains. I'm not playing red. I don't have any basics. I don't have any mana. Right, so what else? Couple interesting ones. Bajuka Bog. Yeah, it's a land, but very useful land. Some guy's getting out of hand with Carador shenanigans. You bog that fucking graveyard. Gone. Some other good ones, some more good ramp ones. Cultivate and Kodama's Reach essentially do the same thing. 3 mana, 2 and a green, that is. Search for 2 basics, put 1 on the battlefield tapped and 1 in your hand. So if you haven't played a land this turn, you can cast your Cultivate, go get your land, play your land, and you already have 1 on there tapped. So you do that turn 3, turn 4, you're on 5 mana. If you draw another land, you're on 6. Seems good. I like it. Seems really good. And then a lot of people saying Soul Ring. Soul Ring's uncommon. And maybe its first printing it was common. But Soul Ring's going in every deck. We all know what Soul Ring does. I don't need to talk about it anymore. One good one, Fog Bank. That's a good common. It's 1 and a blue, has flying, and I think it's 0/1. But prevent all damage dealt to it and dealt from it. It's a fog bank. Literally, you can. I will block you and you will do nothing. Now, if you have trample, different story. But there are answers for every card in this game, aren't there? So what else we got? Last one. One guy just says 2 words, Crozen Grip. And oh my God, is Crozen Grip necessary when you're facing down just about anything that says Eldrazi on it? Like Eldrazi Conscription, Eldrazi Monument, Akroma's Memorial, Ristic Study. What other good ones are there? Soul Ring. Good thing to get rid of, right? So there are lots of good commons out there, and I think, you look at most Commander EDH decks, they're just chock full of rares. It's just a collection of rares. It's just a collection of the best cards that you could possibly play. And while I agree winning is fun, winning is tons of fun, I got to do it tonight, wasn't necessarily my fault. I didn't cast the Living End that won me the game. But that's what happened. It wouldn't have happened if I hadn't played Curse of Echoes. Curse of Echoes is rare, but it's a junk rare that most people aren't going to play. But my point is, don't limit yourself to just, a narrow focus of, well, only rare cards can be good, or only uncommon cards can be slightly good. We know all really powerful cards exist. We know them. We're used to seeing them. We got to deal with the Vorinclex when it gets played. We got to deal with any of the Praetors. We got to deal with Elesh Norn. We all know these big ones. When Planeswalkers get played, we know we got to deal with that, or it's gonna take over the game. But if you can put together a deck that nobody's seen, not only do you fly under the radar, but you're probably going to have a lot of fun because people are going to be grabbing your card. You're going to do the read it test where they're like, what's that thing do? What does that do? Let me read that, right? You want to be playing all your spells face the other way because you know people are going to be asking to read it. I think do something unexpected. It makes for such an enjoyable time. What the hell does that do again? And even when you get, punched in the face by a card you'd never seen before, at least you learned about the card. At least you saw something you never seen before. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of cards in this game. And so many people just play with a handful of them. Like, if they've got, even 5 commander decks, they'd be lucky to have 250 different cards in those decks, right? Because every deck's got a Soul Ring, every deck's got a Sensei's, every deck's got a blah, and look a blah, blah, I play the same shit, and doesn't matter what colors it is, right? A big part of EDH is making things interesting and making things fun. So my point this episode is to try and have fun with it by looking a little bit deeper. There's a guy on a very popular nationwide Magic distribution site. It's fucking Star City. We all know Star City. Abe Sargent. He does a series called The Next 100. And he says, okay, these are the 100 cards you would play in, I don't know, let's say Niv Mizzet, right? You would play these 100 cards. Let's try to take those 100 cards, throw them out the window, and keep Niv Mizzet, and let's see what the next 100 cards would do, right? How are those cards going to fare? Because it makes things interesting. It keeps things fresh. I played against an Olero player tonight who wasn't playing Olero. He was playing a different deck. And it made things interesting. It wasn't necessarily just because I had a better shot of winning, because his Olero deck always just locks down the game. It was more interesting because he had opportunities to make mistakes. As I always do, as every other player does. But his other deck, he played so much, there's no more mistakes. He knows every situation. You know, when he's got Demonic Tutor in his hand and he looks at the board and he sees that's a problem, that's a problem, that's a problem, he knows which order to take them out in because he's played the deck 100 times. More than that, maybe. Right? So the fact that he switched out commanders and switched out a deck, he went from Esper to Grixis. You know, he went from a lockdown strategy, you don't get any cards, I get all the cards, to a, okay, I'm going to give you the cards, but you're going to pay for it. It tripped him up a little bit, and he didn't know exactly what to play when. I say that's interesting, right? I was playing Vela the Nightclad tonight. I don't know the deck in and out. I threw a bunch of cards together. I have a rough idea of what's in it. But when I went to go search for a Cyclonic Rift to get rid of the Eldrazi Monument, it wasn't in the deck. And I remember when I was building the deck, I had it in my hand, but what I had forgotten was I said, everybody plays that card. I'm not going to put it in here. So that was my detriment. But you know what? It made it interesting. It gave me a new puzzle I had to solve. So now I've got this Demonic Tutor on the stack, and I've got to figure out what's left in my deck that I can do something with. And I had to come up with a new strategy, you know. In other decks that I've played, similar ones with similar strategies, that would have been my go-to, and that's what I tried to go to, but it wasn't there. So I had to come up with something else. I think I ended up just grabbing Damnation and just saying, look, I got to try and get rid of that monument somehow. Maybe another player will do it, and then I'll just wipe the board. I don't know. There's a bunch of different ways you can play the game, and my philosophy is the most fun way you can play it is the way you should play it. And that's not always just big, wild, splashy cards. They can be the commons and even the uncommons that you've never played before, that maybe other people have never seen or used before because they're written off. They're like, that's just a common, you know? Like, here's a challenge for you. Next time you buy a booster pack, next time you go pick one up, pick a card from it and put it in your deck. Pick one of the first, 10 commons? So here, besides the Typhoid Rats and the Ethereal Armor, or Ethereal Ambush, that big fat ass. That's the one I'd put in my deck. Why? He's a 5/5 for 1 at common. Yeah, it's for 7. But see that little word there? Delve? Gurmag Angler is a zombie fish and deserves to be put in a deck. Just because he's common, just because you see him more than others, doesn't mean you should just throw him away. Give him a chance. Give the big fucking fish a chance. That's all I got today. All right? So, have some fun adventures. I'm gonna tweak Vela a little bit, and I'll give you the deck tech for it. I've played it a couple times now. It's a fun deck. It does some funny things, but a little smoothing out needs to happen in some of the cards that are in there. Maybe Cyclonic Rift goes in. Maybe this guy goes in. Gurmag Angler. You've seen him on the modern pro. You've seen him on the modern GP circuit. Patrick Chapin. He played him. But a vanilla 5/5, sort of vanilla. Maybe he's good in a deck. Maybe he's fucking terrible. I don't know. But that's my challenge to you. Open a pack, draft a card from that pack, and put it in your deck for your next match. And take out something that you've cast at least 5 times. In a 100-card singleton deck, if you've cast something 5 times, maybe it's time to move on. So give it a try and have fun with it, and we'll see you next time.